I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. Continuing my reading again. This again is in the Doctrine and Covenants. My last reading was sections 122, and just before that, section 121. Now that, along with section 123, all three of these sections are taken from the same letter that was written by Joseph Smith from Liberty Jail. They are all excerpts from the same letter. This one just happens, section 123 is just an excerpt from the end of that letter. Now, Joseph Smith is still in Liberty. He's been here for almost 4 months. I believe he gets out and escapes to Illinois sometime in May. So I think he will be in Liberty Jail for almost 6 months total. Not a very fun place to be, but I talked about that in other videos. So let us just get into section 123. The heading states, Duty of the Saints in relation to their persecutors, as set forth by Joseph Smith the Prophet while a prisoner in the jail at Liberty, Missouri, March 1839. Recorded in History of the Church, Volume 3, pages 302 to 303. Now again, I don't know why they don't state this is March 20th, like they do with section 121, because it's all part of the same letter. But, a couple things here to mention before we read this. This is pages 302 to 303. This tells us that the letter that was written spans pages 289 to 303. That is about 15 pages. So, this is a very long letter. I will also note that Joseph Smith is not the only one that was written. Most of it was probably written by Joseph Smith. But there were 5 men who signed it. So this was written by all the men who were being held prisoner in Liberty Jail. Joseph Smith, Hiram Smith, Lyman White, an elder Baldwin, I can't remember his first name, and I believe George Washington Robinson was also there. Those last 2 men I'm not sure, but I know there was a Baldwin, I'm pretty sure it was Robinson. But Joseph Smith, Hiram Smith, and Lyman White were all there. And they all signed this letter. But this is kind of the conclusion of the letter. And Joseph Smith's direct instructions to the saints. So let us read section 123. And again we would suggest for your consideration the propriety of all the saints gathering up a knowledge of all the facts and sufferings and abuses put upon them by the people of this state, and also of all the property and amount of damages which they have sustained, both of character and personal injuries as well as real property, and also the names of all persons that have had a hand in their oppressions, as far as they can get hold of them and find them out. And perhaps a committee can be appointed to find out these things, and to take statements and affidavits, and also to gather up the libelous publications that are afloat, and all that are in the magazines and in the encyclopedias, and all the libelous histories that are published and are writing and by whom, and present the whole concatenation of diabolical rascality and nefarious and murderous impositions that have been practiced upon this people, that we may not only publish to all the world, but present them to the heads of government in all their dark and hellish hue, as the last effort which is enjoined on us by our Heavenly Father, before we can fully and completely claim that promise which shall call him forth from his hiding place, and also that the whole nation may be left without excuse before he can send forth the power of his mighty arm. It is an imperative duty that we owe to God, to angels with whom we shall be brought to stand, and also to ourselves, to our wives and children, who have been made to bow down with grief, sorrow, and care under the most damning hand of murder, tyranny, and oppression, supported and urged on and upheld by the influence of that Spirit which hath so strongly riveted the creeds of the fathers, who have inherited lies upon the hearts of the children and filled the world with confusion, and has been growing stronger and stronger, and is now the very mainspring of all corruption, and the whole earth groans under the weight of its iniquity. It is an iron yoke, it is a strong band. They are the very handcuffs and chains and shackles and fetters of hell. Therefore it is an imperative duty that we owe not only to our own wives and children, but to the widows and fatherless, whose husbands and fathers have been murdered under its iron hand, which dark and blackening deeds are enough to make hell itself shudder, and to stand aghast and pale in the hands of the very devil to tremble and palsy. Wow. First of all, gather all the evidence. Present it not only to the people, not only to the government, but to all the world. Let the whole world know of the evil that is being practiced here. And if they don't do anything, is the last effort enjoined on us by God is to petition the federal government. And then, if nothing is done, then God is justified in coming out and pouring out his wrath, not only against the individuals, but against the nation who allowed it to happen. But look at this last description here. What is it that is driving this evil? It is the same spirit that influenced men in drawing up their creeds. It is the same spirit that caused the great apostasy. The same spirit that drove men away from God is now stirring up the hearts of men. Joseph Smith is here saying what caused the apostasy is now fighting against the restoration. But I thought I'd make hell itself shudder and the hands of the devil to tremble. Now, is this just rhetorical, hyperbolic speech? Or is he saying that these men are basically devils? It is a powerful description there. Now, I want to point out that this is not saying that the men who believe in the creeds of men, the men who follow these creeds, that they're all evil. No, that's not what it's saying. It's not saying that Christianity is just full of all devils. It is saying that the spirit that gave rise, that influenced, that inspired the creeds and caused the apostasy, that's the same spirit that is among these mobs of Missouri. As I said, it is what caused the great apostasy is now fighting to continue the apostasy. It's fighting against the restoration. It's not the individuals, it's not Christianity. It is that spirit that has driven Christianity into apostasy. Even though the people are great people, but there is a spirit of apostasy is the foundation of most of Christianity. The restoration has threatened that foundation of apostasy, and it is fighting against the restoration. That's what Joseph was saying here. Anyways, we continue, verse 11. And also it is an imperative duty that we owe to all the rising generation and to all the pure in heart. For there are many yet on the earth among all sects, parties, and denominations who are blinded by the subtle craftiness of men, whereby they lie in wait to deceive, and who are only kept from the truth, because they know not where to find it. Therefore, that we should waste and wear out our lives in bringing to light all the hidden things of darkness wherein we know them, and they are truly manifest from heaven, these should then be attended to with great earnestness. Let no man count them as small things, for there is much which lieth in futurity pertaining to the saints, which depends upon these things. You know, brethren, that a very large ship is benefited very much by a very small helm in the time of a storm, by being kept workways with the wind and the waves. Therefore, dearly beloved brethren, let us cheerfully do all things that lie in our power, and then may we stand still with the utmost assurance to see the salvation of God, and for his arm to be revealed. So the duty of the saints is not confined just to the United States and not just to their generation. It is there so that the truth can be proclaimed to all the world, so that those who are earnestly seeking the truth know where to find it, but also so that in the future the workings of God and the destiny of the saints can be realized. And again, we have here, just as in the Book of Mormon, we need to keep the records. When we lose the records, we lose our identity. We saw that with the Mulekites in the Book of Mormon. And again, the lost tribes, they're lost not because we don't know where they are, but because they don't know who they are. They are lost. And we are being told here that we must maintain the records so that the truth can be known, not only at this time, but in the future, so that the truth, the identity of the saints, is maintained. Because there is great work for the saints still to come. And if they don't know who they are, they cannot do the work that is given them. I'm going to leave this here. Our next reading, I believe, is section 124, which is the longest section of the Doctrine and Covenants. I will probably read it in 4 separate videos, so that will be next, although I will probably do a little brief historical update again before I get to that. So I will see you there.